Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Neil Lane. I'm a senior fellow, which means old, at Rice University's Baker Institute for Public Policy, and a very long time member of the Rice community. On behalf of the Institute, it is my pleasure to welcome you to today's program, a fireside chat between Representative Brian Babin and Rice University's Vice President for Innovation, Paul Cherukuri. And we do not have the fire. I'm sorry, we overlooked it, but we will have the fireside chat. As chairman of the U.S. House Science, Space, and Technology Committee, Dr. Babin serves at the forefront of the national discussions on science and innovation policy, including our space program. In my unbiased views, one of the most important committees in the Congress. Today's event is hosted by the Baker Institute Science and Technology Policy Program. Directed by Baker Fellow Kirsten Matthews, the program provides a space for policymakers and scientists to engage in substantive dialogue on critical scientific issues facing the U.S. and the world. Through this program, scholars address a broad range of policy issues that affect scientists and their research and highlight the vital role of science and innovation in shaping America's future. American science is facing enormous challenges, in my view, unprecedented in the nation's history. We are all the more grateful for his steadfast commitment to ensuring the U.S. remains the world's leader in science, technology, innovation, and space. Chairman Babin, thank you for your leadership. I also want to thank the Baker Institute's event staff, especially Kaylee Waldrop, as well as Chairman Babin's team, for their excellent work in putting together today's program. It's now my pleasure to introduce Paul Cherukuri, Rice University's inaugural Vice President for Innovation and Chief Innovation Officer, and I should mention a Baker Institute faculty scholar. Paul is a longtime colleague, dear friend, and I can think of no one better to set the stage for our program and for our distinguished guest. Paul, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. All right, thank you, Neil. Thank you all. Welcome. Welcome to the Baker Institute. It's a pleasure being here. I'm putting on my old man glasses so I can read this properly. But it is an honor to introduce Congressman Babin, and it's an honor to follow you, Neil, at this podium. It is a great privilege of mine to introduce Representative Brian Babin. Congressman Babin represents Texas's 36th Congressional District, which includes NASA Johnson Space Center. Since his election to Congress in 2015, he has been a steadfast advocate for American leadership in science, a remarkable advocate, a very strong advocate for science across the United States. As the chairman of the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology, my screen has locked. There we go. Technology giveth, technology taketh away. It's just the nature of it. All right, so let's keep going. He plays a central role in shaping the nation's science and space policy, ensuring the innovation continues to serve both our economy and our national security. His record of public service is extensive. He served as a captain in the U.S. Air Force and later in the Texas Army National Guard. We thank you for your service, sir. He was appointed to the Lower Neches Valley Authority and has held positions on the Texas State Historical Commission and the Texas State Board of Dental Examiners. A lifelong resident of East Texas, Dr. Babin earned his bachelor's degree from Lamar University. I'm hoping there's some Lamar University alums in the audience. And his DDS from the University of Texas Dental Branch. Chairman Babin, we thank you for your leadership, and we are delighted to welcome you here for this important conversation on the future of American science. The chairman and I will have a short discussion right here, followed by a brief Q&A. But before we begin, I would like to encourage all of you to submit questions via the QR codes. And I'm thinking you all see all the QR codes at your site. And as soon as you do that, the power of science will will it to my iPad here, and then we will be able to actually do all these questions in real time. So as we all do, we have faith in science as we move forward, and we're going to have a great Q&A session. So I will do my best to get to all of them, but please make sure you use that. And if it doesn't work, we'll make sure to get you answers to some of your questions after the event. But thank you all, and please, Congressman, please join us on stage. Please welcome Congressman Babin. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Over here?
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Well, welcome again. Pleasure having you here at Rice.
Good to be out here,
Baker
Doctor.
Institute. Yeah, it's
Yes,
a
sir.
great thing. You were actually just before we start questions, you had mentioned that you lived really close out here, and you used to run through Rice. Is that right?
I did. I lived off of Bissonnette and Sunset Boulevard, and I would actually ride my bicycle across Fannin and Main and through the campus here to get to the University of Texas Dental Branch campus, and did that for almost 4 years.
It's a good way to cut through.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Beautiful campus.
It is.
Wonderful school here.
It is.
Yeah.
We're proud to have you here. We're proud to have this great conversation with you. So just want to start with the first question, and I think it's front and center on everyone's mind here. There's a lot of discussion, national discussion, international discussion about the federal science budget.
Right.
And so it's been encouraging to see that Congress has been pushing back on some elements of President Trump's more extreme cuts to our funding agencies, right? The lifeblood that drives science and the social impact that we've had through science and engineering, both at Rice and at all universities.
Right.
So could you address some of these concerns over the proposed budget levels for science funding? Maybe share some of your views on how you think the
Sure.
situation will
Well,
play out.
I think probably to begin with, we ought to talk about the president's proposed budget, the PBR. And we absolutely were shocked at some of the cuts that we were having to sustain. I happen to serve as the chairman of probably the most bipartisan committee in the House of Representatives, and that's the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. And we routinely work across the aisle. You know, some of our other issues we probably don't agree too much on, but I think for the most part, Ms. Zoe Lofgren from California and I pretty much agree on a lot of the science and technology, and especially in our space portfolios. So I would say that the budget that has been proposed is just that. It's a proposal. The Constitution specifies that the United States House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate will formulate this budget.
Right.
And this is a proposed budget by Office of Management and Budget, and quite frankly, it is a proposal. It is not the final word. And so we are working on this as we speak. Have staff, and when we're absolutely adamant about continuing our position as the #1 spacefaring nation in the world. We want to retain that. Also, with the super important fields of quantum, AI, all of the above that we're going to have to sustain. So we don't want to have a 25% cut in space or a 50% cut in science. Right. So that's what we're looking at. I've had many conversations with others, especially our appropriators, and also been to the White House a couple of times, talked with Office of Management and Budget, but also have talked to Michael Kratsios, who is the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, who I agree with when he says it's not how much you spend of these federal dollars, it's what you spend it on and the quality, and that's what we're doing. So my focus is going to be funding programs that are going to propel our nation in the direction of retaining the #1 spacefaring nation in the world, and also second to none in AI, quantum, etc. Okay.
Excellent.
Yes, sir.
So those are some of your priorities,
Right.
it sounds like, for your your budget. Do you have strong bipartisan support for this? Do
Yes,
you
we
feel
do.
like it's across the aisle?
Yeah, it's across the aisle, and quite frankly, we are seeing some I think termination of certain policies and projects, which we're not happy to see, and we feel like that is not the rule of law. Until we vote on this in the House, and it has to originate in my committee, I don't think that we need to be cutting programs or cutting positions or cutting jobs until that happens.
Right. And it's a natural process. This is the process that's been tried and true.
That's right. We've got to make tough, smart decisions. That's what's got to happen. We have to prioritize our research and our projects that deliver real results to the American people to keep our security strong and our economy going.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's critical. And you see that many sectors of our society are questioning, how are we spending our money? How are we prioritizing?
Yeah.
How do we actually drive that forward? And beyond this budget, there are many challenges that we're discussing today, but also in this unprecedented technological change. You mentioned AI, you mentioned many new scientific discoveries, right? And I understand you are like I am, a science fanatic and a big fan of what we're doing, and in biology in particular. And so you've also had the opportunity to see some of our rice labs, and we have fantastic folks here before this event. You saw some of that. Maybe you could discuss a little bit of some of these recent areas and something that excites you, like in the research space and the science space.
Well, I tell you what, I just saw diamonds in the manufacturing stage here at Rice. I thought that was very, very fascinating. And instead of silicon, they're going to make chips with diamonds. And, which are very, very heat resistant. So
that's right.
More power to Rice University. Hope we see some fruition of that.
We love our carbon here. That's my favorite element.
That's right.
So
my wife loves that carbon too.
Yeah, that's right. I think there are a lot of people who love carbon in its diamond form. I love it in the tubular form, but that's just me. And that's something that we do quite avidly here. We try to push the boundaries, but we do that because of the science funding that we've received from the taxpayers who have supported this. And so maybe we could talk a little bit about that. What else do you see that's over the horizon that we can think about as we're talking about these budget concerns?
Right. Well, we're hard at work. I will tell you that. We've already passed. The House has already passed 11 Science, Space, and Technology Committee bills, and there's another 9 bills that have been approved in our committee, which are now awaiting a vote on the whole House floor. Our priorities include, as I've said, partially, that NASA reauthorization. We've got to pass a reauthorization bill. Right. The last time we did that was actually the first Trump administration, 2017, February 2017. I was in the Oval Office, and President Trump signed it, and that's the last time. And it's long overdue. We've got to get one. We passed one out of the House. It went over to the Senate last Congress and last administration under the Biden administration, and it was not taken up by the Democrat Party, who had the majority over there at the time. And so we also want, as I said, we got to address AI. We got to reauthorize our National Quantum Initiative, and we have to advance weather forecasting capabilities. We have jurisdiction over a number of federal agencies, and one of those, National Weather Service and NOAA. Right. And as everybody knows in this room, that we've had some horrible weather situations here in the last July the 4th. We probably had the worst flood maybe ever in Texas history in the Guadalupe Valley out there in Kerr County. Right. So, one of the biggest, the most controversies about that was, did we have advance notice? Did we have proper warning? And we want to make sure that happens. And we're working on a Weather Act as we speak.
That is awesome.
Yes, sir.
That is awesome to hear. You know, another topic that we had covered a little bit earlier today before we came to the Baker Institute was metrology, measuring, right? What matters. And that is very much at the heart of weather prediction, right? How do you actually measure what's happening and before it actually strikes? I think that's an incredibly important aspect.
Without question.
I'm glad you're taking that on. It's so critical. So we also had some additional questions that I'd like to ask you about.
Okay.
Everybody, you know, I'm in the administration, so I've gone to the dark side of the force, is how everybody says it. We love talking about indirect costs, this wonderful term, indirect costs. So we're not going to put you all to sleep, believe it or not. This is an important subject. But if I can ask you about indirect costs, and there are several proposals in the administration for reform, in addition to the Trump administration's efforts to cap indirects at 15%. Could you talk about how Congress is approaching this issue and what your thoughts are on it?
Well, we actually addressed it a little bit at the table a while ago. The Trump administration wants to get politics out of science, wants to go to a pure a system that is based on capabilities, and instead of having what we call DEI. And so I think this is one of the things that the administration is looking at. And excuse me, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, please.
I'm just getting over COVID last week, I hate to tell you.
Well, I'm glad you're better.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're beher. Yeah.
We
Well,
don't
we're at
want
a
to share.
distance, I think
Absolutely.
we're okay.
So we're looking at you know, there's different ways that we could go in that direction, and we are looking at one possibility is called the FAIR system, to look at each individual grant and take it from there.
Right.
So this is one of the
Yeah, to taper in the changes.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so that it's not a draconian effect, but it's something that we could level into, and trying to kind of figure all those pieces out. I think it's critical, as we discussed, and a lot of universities are trying to get to a point where we can understand each other more. And it's great that we're having those conversations. I think that's what all of this democracy has been set up to do, right?
That's
to
right.
be able to do this. And the nice thing in Texas is we talk to each other still, so that's good.
Amen to that.
So another question, if I may. The administrative burden. There's an administrative burden on researchers. It's a fascinating thing. If you talk to faculty who are doing science, there is a whole lot of regulations and things that you have to do, and it takes up a lot of time that takes you away from doing the actual science part of the work, right? And I know that DOGE has been charged with cutting red tape. Estimated 40% of total time on research projects is really devoted to paperwork. And we all love paperwork, right? Not really. So the issue is, you know, DOGE has been focused on reducing workforce. Can Congress help rein in maybe some of this excessive bureaucracy, and how do you measure excessive bureaucracy and improve efficiency? Is there a way to do that around grant making?
Absolutely.
These proposals?
I think so. I think that excessive bureaucracy, paperwork, the morass, the red tape, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
The last thing we want our space program to have is to be tethered to Earth by red tape. Okay?
Here you go.
We don't want that happening. So
right.
We're absolutely finding ways to cut through this red tape. And this is what DOGE and this is what the administration is, that's one of their reasons for being. And that is to unshackle our research and development institutions like Rice University, unshackle our private companies, private space companies, you name it, and move at the pace of innovation rather than at bureaucracy. That's what's got to happen.
It's got to happen.
You know, I remember hearing President Trump say, you know, if we the Empire State Building was built in 9 months. Back in the 30s, I think it was. It would take us 10 years to get a permit for that.
Yeah.
And I work, one of my other committees is the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure, and so permitting is a huge thing there with the Corps of Engineers and other federal agencies. And absolutely in space as well. I know that with all the launches that we have and need, putting the satellite constellations up there, one of the biggest hurdles we have is getting a launch permit.
Amazing.
Amazing is right. That we would have innovating, tremendous companies like Blue Origin and SpaceX and ULA that have to go through red tape and have a hard time getting a permit to launch their rockets. And so this is what we're doing. We're trying to cut through this in a way that would free up and really just unshackle our innovators.
Oh, that would
so that we will not come in second place. That's what we have to avoid.
That is music to my ears, and I'm sure many in the audience here. This is, with regards to space, you hosted the acting NASA administrator and Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy earlier this month at Johnson Space Center. So space policy often gets pulled in many different directions based on administrative changes, administrations that come in. How do we ensure that NASA has that consistent goal that you just talked about really between administrations? How do you preserve that?
Well, this has been one of the problems. I'll tell you, Doctor. It's been one of the problems is lack of continuity between the administrations. I came to Congress during the Obama administration. The Obama administration had cashiered a program which was called Constellation, which was going to get us back to the moon. That had been formulated during the Bush administration, the W. Bush administration, and that wound up getting canceled, and it cost thousands of jobs in the space sector. And now, we've got to make sure that between these administrations that we have continuity and a continuing plan without having a whipsaw effect where we wind up laying off thousands of people, taking a program that we've spent literally billions of dollars on and then terminating it. And so we're working very hard right now to keep from having Artemis, our Artemis program, getting us back to the moon, to keep that from being terminated. And I think I alluded to this in the first question. We, as the House of Representatives, and I'll have to throw the Senate in there as well. We are the ones that are supposed to make that budget, and we will make the determination of what programs get terminated, how much they're going to be funded, and so, the administration may propose, but the Congress will dispose. Excellent. And so I've worked with the appropriators, my friend Tom Cole, appropriations chairman from Oklahoma. I've talked to a number of his cardinals or his subcommittee chairs, maintaining this line of budgeting for Artemis and SLS, and our science portfolio, science programs as well. I've talked to our speaker, Mike Johnson, from Louisiana. Happens to be one of my neighbors. He's right across the Sabine River from me. My district goes right up to Louisiana, and my northern end meets his southern end. And then also with Mr. Scalise, Steve Scalise, also from Louisiana leadership. He's our majority leader, and everybody's interested in continuing the race to the moon and not lose it. The last thing we want to do is to land on the lunar surface to see a no trespassing sign written in Mandarin. Okay, we don't want to go to see a Mandarin sign that says "keep out," and whoever gets there first will write the rules of the road. And I don't know. I'm sure here at Rice University, you know more than most people, but there are billions of tons of water ice on the moon in certain areas, especially in the southern polar regions. There's helium-3 for fusion.
That's
you can
right.
do that. You can have a great fusion research and development. Quantum, AI, these are all things that we have to stay number one in and cannot afford to come in second place. So we got to keep funding these things, and we can't fall down on the job.
Well, I'm proud that you're going after it. It's critically important. And you're right. We don't need to see a CCP flag up on the moon.
That's
I
right.
think that would be it would be not a very pleasant sight for us. But it's good to see that we're still going after it. So let's turn our attention a little bit, and sort of relates to CCP, but also in recent years about research security.
Right.
And malign foreign influence in universities. I think this is something that many universities are challenged with, struggling with. We all have a very open campus wanting to talk about things very openly. But how is Congress addressing research security and the concerns that we have, and how can openness and security actually be appropriately balanced given scientific collaborations where we share information freely? How do you strike a balance there?
It has to be a balance, but we have lost so much of our information, which has been pilfered over the years, that we can no longer afford to ignore this problem. For many, many decades, we have thought, well, if we're nice, we include the People's Republic of China, include them in our organizations, World Economic, our scientific community, et cetera, that we were hoping that they would all of a sudden turn into Benjamin Franklin's and Thomas Jefferson's. Unfortunately, that has not happened. We know that President Xi is a great admirer of Joe Stalin from the Soviet Union. And so we do know that, in fact, I will say this, just yesterday, right across the street, MD Anderson arrested one of their doctors who was from China, who was pilfering information. And so this is an extremely serious problem that we can no longer look the other way. And we are passing in bills. We have an agenda to make sure that our science, technology, and space portfolios are not compromised by malign actors. Right. And so this is exactly what we're trying to do. We got to protect U.S. research, our intellectual property. It's a top priority for our committee. The CCP, or the Communist Party of China, is absolutely determined to surpass the United States as a global leader in science and technology. By 2050, they've established that date, and it's not arbitrary. Usually when the Chinese government says we're going to get to the moon by 2030, we're going to do this by 20 this, 20 that, they usually do it. They either beat it or they're on time. And so they mean business. And so we have to make sure that we guard against the theft of our basic research, because it poses a very significant risk to our global competitiveness, to our cutting-edge innovation and technology that we have, and undermines our economy and our ability to lead and discover.
Yeah, it's challenging.
Yes, sir.
It's a challenging time, and it's something that many of us in the science and engineering community really struggle with, because we like to be very open. We're an open society. This is American, but
this is why we need to beat them to the moon.
That's right. And
we've got to set those rules of the road. Freedom, liberty, the open society. This is what has to happen. We actually passed earlier this year the HR 1318, which is the Research Protection Act, to safeguard our federally funded research. And hopefully, we're going to have that in law.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah,
that would be great. Yeah, there's another question that we have here is. Earlier this month, President Trump signed an executive order. Yeah. And we also talked a little bit about this, about reforming grant making that will give political appointees some significant authority to make funding decisions. Now, that's not been done before. So, these sorts of conversations, what are your thoughts on this? And,
I think we have to be very careful. We want experts making these decisions. And if they're political appointees, that's fine. But let's, the Bible says, a good leader, he has wise counsel. So we need people who have that type of experience and background to make sure that these decisions are being made, not in a vacuum, but with plenty of thought and counsel. So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
my thought.
Yeah, and it's the alignment. So there's a bit about alignment with presidential priorities, but how do you actually do that when you have Congress and you also have the peer review system? Is there a way to protect against this, or to make sure that the decisions are preserved, right? To keep them on track, so that science is funded by science experts.
That's right, and we are intent on having that happen. As I've said earlier, we're seeing some, the termination of some jobs, of programs. Some of these programs I think are very, very valuable. I was in Europe at CERN, if you're familiar with CERN.
Yeah.
And there are projects that are going on in the International Space Station, for instance, that one of the things we keep hearing a lot of folks say, well, let's don't bother with going to the moon. Let's go straight to Mars. The problem is this budget cuts Baylor Medical Space Research, biomedical research.
Right. Yeah.
And one of the problems we have with going to Mars is, number one, can we keep our astronauts healthy? Maybe a lot of you all don't realize it, but strange things happen to you in a weightless environment. You can have ocular. I'm a dentist. I've got a medical background. Ocular problems, eyesight. You have bone density
Bone loss, yeah,
problems, osteoporosis type symptoms. These are all things that happen to you when you're in a zero gravity or microgravity environments. We don't have a propulsion system to get us to Mars
Right.
in a rapid way. It's up to a 9-month trip to get to Mars, and that's a long time. Plus, you have to have these celestial bodies have to align. You can't just say, "Oh, you know what? I'm here on Mars today. I think I'm going to leave tomorrow. I'm getting lonesome for my kids and wife." You have to wait till we get the celestial bodies lined up.
Right. Get
And
that
you
lined
have
up.
the trajectories and the things that you need to be able to get home. So we need a propulsion system that will get us there quickly. We know that if we could shorten this trip down to 4 to 6 months from 9 months, that's a lot safer, a lot more assurance for us that we can keep these astronauts healthy. One of the International Space Station projects is the AMS project, which measures and determines how much radiation the human body, our astronauts can tolerate.
Right.
That's a very dangerous thing. When you're in deep space, you're not being protected by an atmosphere. Our atmosphere protects us, from a lot of this radiation. So we have to make sure that our astronauts are protected. A lot of bad things can happen to you if you're exposed to radiation, cancer, some other things. And we have to be very, very cautious about that. So,
and that's one of the reasons basic science is so critical. You have to invent the new materials. You have to get the new things up there to really protect our astronauts and our people, both on terra firma and as well as in space. And so preserving that, I think, is going to be a critical aspect. And I think we all recognize that. But we got to do it faster and secure.
Right.
And I think we hear you on this. So I'm going to go to an audience question now.
okay.
So now this is going to get interesting. So here's just the first one here. How do you plan to work with Democrats and other members to find common ground in a world where common ground seems to be fading away, especially on science policies? How do you find common ground on science policy issues?
The way we've been doing it. As I said, we've had one of the, if not the, in fact, I think we are the most bipartisan science and space and technology, this is not partisan.
Right.
This is bipartisan. This is putting America first. And so I think it's critical. We'll continue to work with our colleagues across the aisle. We don't always agree with them on everything, and I oppose them very vociferously. When we were in the minority, we fight back, and they're just as they're doing with us right now. So it's critical that we continue to work in a bipartisan manner to make sure we're taking care of all of those portfolios, science, space, and technology. Without question, if we fall back and down on the job on any of those, we could fall behind and literally never recover. It would be a disaster. I'm old enough to remember Scott Wise. He's a year behind me, but we went to high school together. He was one of your pitchers here at Rice. Good man.
He is.
And I remember in 1957 sitting at the breakfast table in Beaumont, Texas, when the Soviets had put up Sputnik.
Yeah.
And my dad said, "Man, this is not a good development." And look what happened.
Right.
It galvanized and energized the United States of America. At the time, that was President Eisenhower, but we wound up with JFK, President Kennedy, who basically inspired this country to go to the moon.
That's right.
In fact, he gave a famous speech in 1962 right here at this campus.
That's right.
Which I think galvanized this nation. And that podium is out at the Johnson Space Center right now, and we need to do the exact same thing. We cannot, and I repeat, we cannot afford to lose this race to the moon. Because if we don't, well, for one thing, I heard from a reliable source that the Chinese want to pick up Armstrong's and Buzz Aldrin's flag and put it in one of their museums.
Oh dear.
Damn it, we don't want that happening, okay?
You can't let that happen. You cannot let that
we don't.
happen.
So,
If anything, we'll go pick it up, and we can bring it back if we need
ironically,
to.
the flag is supposedly bleached completely white now, from what I understand.
Is it right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
So we may say, well, that's a fake. No, I'm kidding.
Well, that's another level.
We got to win this race.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, we've got to get up there. I think it's wonderful, and it would bring us together. JFK's speech still inspires all of us here,
Yes, it does.
And we still resonate with it. I mean, they're eternal words for us. And at Logan Airport, it's an interesting thing. When you land at Logan, there's a JFK speech that's playing, and I just get a kick out of the idea that it's words that he spoke here at Rice in Houston as you're getting into Boston. I just think that's fun. And so I love that, but it's the kind of words that speaks to everybody around the world. And that's the kind of galvanized effort that we need again, especially around some key areas. So another question.
Sure.
Advanced technology, quantum, AI, we talked a little bit about it. These have emerged as key areas of global competition, especially with China. What's your vision to keep us a global leader in those key areas? Like, are there ways to really do that, to not even just keep up, but leap ahead? Is there something that we can do?
Absolutely, and we're doing it. We are doing it. We are trying to innovate, unshackle, unleash, if you will, our innovators. Whether they're at an illustrious institution like Rice University, out in NASA, some of the startups. It's amazing. Some of our space companies that we have out here at Clear Lake in my district. One of them, the first company in the history of mankind to land on the surface of the moon. That's an incredible achievement. And we need to, as I said earlier, we've got to get the bureaucracy out of this whole thing, so that we can free these people up to move at the pace of innovation rather than at the snail's pace of bureaucracy by federal government. And we are intent upon doing this, and I think both parties are intent upon doing this. We may have slight disagreements, but I think we're going to work together, and we'll get her done. And we're going to. I can tell you that President Donald J. Trump is a winner. He does not want to lose, and I can tell you he will not be happy if we wind up being second on the moon, or if we lose in the AI race, or anything else. He is determined to win, and so we are working hard to make sure that he understands what's really at stake here, and so this is what it's all about. We need to fund it, we need to enable it, and nothing short of our national security is what it's all about.
Right.
National security is everything.
It is key. It is key. Well, so another question that relates to that. You had mentioned a little bit earlier about politicization of science and how to, depoliticize science and technology and restore confidence in government and in science, right? There's a lot of skepticism about science and scientists, and as well as politicians and government. So how do you challenge that? How do you challenge people who no longer have faith in leaders who are in both fields?
Gotcha. Well, I tell you, there's probably various stages of admiration and likability in this audience for Doge, for Elon Musk and what have you, but I will tell you what Mr. Musk and his group discovered just as an example. We all suspected there was probably a little fraud going on in some of our major mandatory spending programs like Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, et cetera. And then only to find out that who would have known